When I marched in the civil rights movement, I marched with tens of thousands of others to change attitudes.
But he never actually marched in the civil rights movement at all.
Right now, with Joe Biden as the front runner in the Democratic primary, it's important to point out what a lot of people just assume about Joe Biden, which is why he has so many high poll numbers. It's important to point out that Joe Biden does not have a good shot at defeating Donald Trump. Joe Biden will be attacked, and it will suppress the Democratic vote if he were to become the nominee. I'm going to show you here one clip, but followed by several other clips of just exactly why Joe Biden would be a horrible choice for the Democratic Party. So this I didn't know about. I'm sure people that were around back in the 80s know of this. I didn't know about this till I saw a clip on this today. So the New York Times did a story on Joe Biden, and one of the aspects of this story was talking about how Biden lied about marching in the civil rights movement. So here's a clip from that.
And then there were moments like this, repeated later during the campaign.
When I marched in the civil rights movement, I marched with tens of thousands of others to change attitudes.
But he never actually marched in the civil rights movement at all. Ultimately, it was accusations of plagiarism in his speeches.
I did not know that was a Robert Kennedy quote. My mistake.
That forced him to drop out of the race.
I made some mistakes.
All right, so that part of the New York Times video was talking about Biden's run in 1987 for president. And as you saw at the end there, I think a lot of people know that Biden plagiarized speeches in 87, which is why he had to drop out back then. But I'm not sure as many people remember or know that he lied about marching in the civil rights movement. These are just two examples right here in this quick clip of how easy Donald Trump and the Republican Party could attack Joe Biden. Now, again, I don't think their attacks would mean that Democratic voters would come out and vote for Donald Trump. But what this would do is it would suppress the vote. It would make people feel like, well, this is just another Hillary Clinton 2.0. And I mean, in reality, Biden is much worse than Hillary Clinton. So in that sense, just like Hillary's vote was suppressed because she didn't excite the base, Joe Biden would do the exact same thing. There is no way Joe Biden would excite the base. The only thing people would have to hope is that enough voters hate Donald Trump enough to come out and vote for Joe Biden. Let me just read a little bit more about this New York Times piece. So it was written by Matt Flegenheimer. So it was titled, Biden's first run for president was a calamity. Some missteps still resonate. In 1988, Joe Biden was prone to embellishment. Hints of that linger today. But unlike then, his message to voters is clear. He's a stabilizing statesman in a tumultuous time. So they try to be super fair. I mean, in typical New York Times fashion, they try to be super fair to Joe Biden despite all the facts showing that he would be a horrible candidate to go up against Donald Trump. All you have to do is look at how he would suppress the vote. And if you're not even worried about that, say you see these clips and think, oh, whatever, it doesn't really matter. How about just the data? I mean, there is 70 years of data compiled by a Thomas Piketty paper that explains how these parties or politicians worldwide, not just in America, should be trying to speak to actual issues affecting real people and speak against the establishment, be it the corporate establishment or the political establishment or the media establishment. So let me just give you a headline of this piece from Salon that I went deeper into in a previous video. But Salon says here, there is hard data that shows a centrist Democrat would be a losing candidate. Economist Thomas Piketty wrote a paper about this in 2018, though the Democrats paid no attention. So again, I went deeper into this article in a previous video. I'll link to it above. But essentially, whether you look at policy issues or Biden as a politician, his past 40 years, this is not somebody you want to put up as the Democratic nominee. There is a very good chance that he would not be able to get out the vote to beat Donald Trump. Now, before I go here, I have to show this compilation of clips. So I think this was put together by Walter Bragman on Twitter. He tweeted this video out, and it shows you all the content that conservatives have to work with if Biden were to be the nominee.
I like the idea they keep in jail longer. I'm the guy that wrote the bill requiring federal judges to keep people in jail 100% of the time for which they're sentenced.
Whatever happened to that old conservative discipline about paying for what you spend? When I argued that we should freeze federal spending, I meant Social Security as well. I meant Medicare and Medicaid. I meant veterans benefits. I meant every single solitary thing in the government. And I not only tried it once, I tried it twice, I tried it a third time, and I tried it a fourth time.
Paul Ryan was correct. When he did the tax code, what's the first thing he decided we had to go after? Social Security and Medicare. You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I actually like Dick Cheney for real. I get on with him. I think he's a decent man.
I'll vote for this because we should support compelling Iraq to make good on its obligations to the United Nations. President Bush did not lash out precipitously at Iraq after 9/11. At each pivotal moment, he has chosen a course of moderation and deliberation, and I believe he will continue to do so. I spent last summer going through the black sections of my town, holding rallies in parks, trying to get black men to understand it's not unmanly to wear a condom. The community's engaged in denial. They're engaged in denial. No one wants to talk about it in the community, and we do not have enough leaders in the community and outside the community.
That cadre of young people born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally have not been socialized. Madam President, we have predators on our streets. We have no choice but to take them out of society. The younger generation now tells me how tough things are. Give me a break. No. I have no empathy for it.
We'll continue to stand against the biased resolutions and attempts to delegitimize Israel at the United Nations.
Trans-Pacific Partnership is perhaps the most ambitious trade negotiation underway in the world.
All right. I mean, that should speak for itself. So in those series of clips, you see Biden as the architect of the crime bill, discussing cutting Social Security and Medicare, making weird racial comments, supporting the Iraq War, him liking Cheney. I mean, and that wasn't even everything. There was more in there. And there's more that exists out in the world on Joe Biden. He would suppress the vote. I mean, criticizing millennials. That's all. Have a commercial like that. Release a YouTube ad where Biden is criticizing millennials. How many millennials do you think are going to come out and vote for Joe Biden? So understand here, this would be the worst choice for the Democratic Party. His support, I keep assuming, I keep hoping that it will go down after the debates, but nothing's a guarantee. If his name recognition carries him like it is right now and his attachment to Obama carries him like it appears to be right now, the Democratic Party could be up for a terrible time come 2020.